Hey, it's Mark from Quiz Heroes here and welcome to this week's quiz. This week's quiz is the Ultimate Quiz Challenge. We have 4 different categories for you and we have 40 challenging questions. This week's categories are Around the House, the 1970s, the Picture Round and as ever, the General Trivia Round. Round number 1 is Around the House and here comes the first question. On the 13th of June 2013, the Clark Sickle Leaf carpet sold for how much? Was it $500,000, $33.7 million or $50.5 million? And the answer is $33.7 million. Question 2. Who was the inventor of the pendulum clock in 1656? Was it Christian Huygens, Giovanni Branca or Evangelista Torricelli? And the answer is Christian Huygens. Let's move on to question number 3. Who accidentally invented the microwave oven in 1945? Was it George de Mestral, William Sullivan or Percy Spencer? And the answer is Percy Spencer. Question number 4. Who banned the mass production of wallpaper in Britain? Was it King Charles I, Oliver Cromwell or King Charles II? And the answer was Oliver Cromwell. Question number 5. LED bulbs are more efficient than incandescent light bulbs, but by how much? Is it 60%, 70% or 80%? And the answer is 80%. Question number 6. Who was credited with inventing the first flushable toilet? Was it Sir John Harrington, Sir Edward Booth or Sir Thomas Crapper? And the answer was Sir John Harrington. Question number 7. Who was granted a patent for inventing the telephone in 1876? Was it Thomas Edison, Alexander Graham Bell or Guglielmo Marconi? And the answer was Alexander Graham Bell. Question number 8. What's the name of the plastic tip on the end of a shoelace? Is it called an aglet, a sleeve or a flange? It's called an aglet. Question number 9. What are the long stringy bits of a banana called? Are they phloem bundles, fructose strips or stringy bits? And the answer is phloem bundles. And the last question of this round, question number 10. What's the name of the metal tip at the end of a pencil? Is it a shell, a ferrule or a tippet? And the answer? It's called a ferrule. Let's move on to round number 2. Round number 2 is the 1970s and here's the first question. In 1972, the first video game to have commercial success was released, but what was it? Was it Donkey Kong, Pong or Space Invaders? And the answer was Pong. Here's question number 12. In which year did the Beatles break up? Was it 1976, 1974 or 1970? And the answer was 1970. Question number 13. Which Apollo mission in 1970 returned to Earth after abandoning its mission to the Moon? Was it Apollo 11, Apollo 12 or Apollo 13? And the answer was Apollo 13. Question number 14. In 1973, NASA launched a space probe called the Mariner, but which planet was it sent to explore? Was it Mars, Mercury or Venus? And the answer? It was sent to explore Mercury. Question 15. In which year did Richard Nixon resign from office after being implicated in the Watergate scandal? Was it 1974, 1972 or 1976? And the answer was 1974. Here's question 16. In 1975, Microsoft was founded by Bill Gates and who? Was it Gary Forbes, Brad Burton or Paul Allen? And the answer was Paul Allen. Let's move on to question 17. America's first space station was called what? Was it Skynet, Skylab or SkyMap? It was called Skylab. Question number 18. In 1979, the portable music listening device was released by Sony, but what was it called? Was it a boombox, a Walkman or an iPod? It was called a Walkman. Question number 19. In 1979, who became the first female Prime Minister of Great Britain? Was it Nicola Sturgeon, Margaret Thatcher or Theresa May? And the answer was Margaret Thatcher. And the final question of this round, question 20, which Michael Jackson album was released in 1979? Was it Off the Wall, Thriller or Bad? And the answer was Off the Wall. Let's move on to the next round. The next round is the picture round, and here comes the first question. This pan is used to make Danish pancakes, but what is it called? It's called an able skiver. Question number 22. Who is this presenter of The Tonight Show? And the answer is Jimmy Fallon. Question 23. This is the symbol for an astrological star sign. But which star sign is it? It's the star sign for Scorpio. Let's move on to question 24. What type of fruit is this? It's called a cucamelon. Question number 25. What type of kitchen appliance is this? It's an avocado slicer. Question number 26. Which famous company's logo is this? It's the logo for Chanel. Question number 27. What is the name of this animal? It's called a pangolin. Let's move on to question 28. What is the name of this flower? It's an amaryllis. Question number 29. Which popular board game is this? It's called Ludo. And the final question of this round, question 30. Which actress is this? And that's a picture of Marilyn Monroe. And that brings us to the end of the picture round. Let's move on to the final round of this week's quiz, as ever, the general trivia round. Here comes the first question. In singing terms, an ariette is a short what? Is it an opera, an aria, or an a cappella? It's a short aria. Question number 32. Getting down to the task in hand is known as getting down to brass what? Basics, tacks, or core? And it's getting down to brass tacks. Question number 33. What is the lookout post on the top of a ship's mast called? Is it an eagle's nest, a crow's nest, or a robin's nest? It's called a crow's nest. Question number 34. What does a frugivore eat? Do they eat fruit, fish, or meat? A frugivore eats fruit. Question number 35. Which band sings Bittersweet Symphony? Is it the Happy Mondays, the Script, or the Verve? And the answer is the Verve. Let's move on to question 36. In which country do soba noodles originate? Do they come from Thailand, Japan, or China? And they come from Japan. Question number 37. What is the capital of Colombia? Is it Barranquilla, Medellin, or Bogota? And the answer is Bogota. Question number 38. What is the needle on a record player called? Is it a stylus, a cantilever, or a tip? And the answer? It's called a stylus. Question number 39. What sensory organ do starfish have at the end of each arm? Is it a mouth, a nose, or an eye? And the answer is an eye. And the final question of this week's quiz, question 40. Which country was formerly known as Persia? Was it Iraq, Iran, or Afghanistan? And the answer is Iran. So that brings us to the end of this week's quiz. How well did you do? Please leave your scores in the comment section below. And don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell to be notified of all the latest quizzes. And by the way, if you enjoyed this quiz, I'm sure you'll like these. See you next time.